The hills above Niterói rise slowly from the coastline, covered in long grasses and scattered stones. On quiet days, a soft wind moves across their slopes, carrying the faint scent of the nearby sea. In the afternoons, the light filters through pale clouds and rests gently on the landscape. The city sits far below, its sounds muted by distance until only a soft hum remains. On the Morro do Vintém ridge, the air feels still. Birds circle lazily overhead. Heat gathers in the rocks and radiates upward, softening the edges of everything it touches. It was on this hillside, in August of 1966, that two men were found lying side by side in the tall grass, their presence quiet, their expressions calm, their story as yet unformed. They were discovered by a young boy exploring the area. From a distance, the two figures looked as though they were resting, their bodies reclined against the slope, hands placed gently upon their midsections, faces covered by smooth metal masks shaped to fit the eyes. They wore formal clothing, jackets, neat trousers, and raincoats despite the dry weather. There were no signs of struggle, no signs of movement, just stillness, as if whatever moment preceded their final one had passed quietly, without disturbance. Later, they would be identified as two electronic technicians traveling from Campos dos Goitacazes. Their names recorded, their professions noted, their intentions less clear. The hillside remained quiet that evening, as though holding the unanswered parts of their arrival. The timeline begins a few days earlier. On August 17th, the two men boarded a bus heading toward Niterói. They carried a small amount of money, a few tools, and the raincoats that would later be found beside them. They told others they were going to buy equipment. They gave no indication that the journey was unusual. A receipt found later noted the purchase of 2 lead sheets from which their masks had been fashioned, cut carefully, smooth around the edges. When they arrived in Niterói, they stopped briefly at a local shop to buy a bottle of mineral water. The clerk remembered them. They seemed calm, not rushed, not agitated. From that point, their path becomes less defined. It is believed they climbed the hillside later that afternoon, carrying the small bag that would eventually be found near their bodies. The timeline leading to their final moments contains pauses, spaces not filled by witness accounts, gaps in which nothing definitive is known. They reach the slope of Morro do Vintém. They lay down in the grass, and sometime afterward, the stillness settled around them. When investigators returned to the site, they found a notebook. Inside, a short instruction written in Portuguese. 4:30 p.m. be at the determined place. 6:30 p.m. swallow capsules. After effect. Tarats, Chikitakuni, Shavachans, protect metals, wait for signal mask. The meaning of the note was unclear. It resembled a set of directions, but without explanation of purpose or outcome. There were no capsules found nearby, no chemicals detected that could confirm their use. The hillside showed no disturbance. The grass lay flat only where the men had been resting. Autopsies could not determine a clear cause of death. Toxicology testing was limited at the time and offered no conclusion. These findings, rather than providing clarity, became turning points that broadened the uncertainty surrounding the case. Not because they were dramatic, but because they added elements that did not align easily with a single explanation. The masks were simple and carefully made. Thin pieces of lead, shaped to rest loosely over the eyes with no straps to secure them. The notebook lay open, its ink faint, its message brief. A bottle of mineral water, a raincoat folded neatly, a plastic bag containing electrical components common to their profession. No weapons, no signs of defensive struggle, nothing that pointed directly to violence or external harm. Everything found on the hillside belonged to them, yet none of it fully explained what had happened. The objects felt like fragments of a story whose centerpiece was missing, recognizable pieces that did not form a complete shape. Over the years, people have tried to understand what drew the two men to the hillside that day. Some believe they were performing an experiment, possibly related to their work with electronics. It is possible they expected a light or signal and created the masks as protection for their eyes. Others suggest they may have been part of a spiritual group that practiced techniques involving energy, light, or altered states. It is also possible they ingested something harmful without fully understanding its effects. The note referencing capsules has led some to consider this, though no direct evidence remains. Some interpret the scene as the result of miscalculation, a planned experience that did not unfold as intended. Others propose they may have been guided by beliefs now lost, rituals no longer practiced, instructions misunderstood or incomplete. The theories vary. None provide certainty. They are observations offered gently, held at a respectful distance from the people at the center of the story. Morro do Vintém looks much the same today. The grasses still shift quietly with the wind. The view of Niterói remains wide and open, stretching across the city to the distant water beyond. Visitors who walk the slope may not know what once occurred here. The hillside carries no visible marker of the story that unfolded in its quiet grass. Yet standing there, the stillness feels familiar. The breeze moves gently across the stones, softening the heat of the sun. It is a place where time does not seem hurried, where the horizon holds its shape with calm persistence, where unanswered questions blend naturally into the landscape. The world around the hill has changed. New buildings, new roads, new noise. But the slope itself remains steady and slow, holding its silence with the same patience as it did in 1966. The lead masks. Case remains unresolved, not because of concealment, but because the fragments that survive do not form a complete picture. The two men on the hillside left behind only faint traces of their intentions. A note, a pair of handmade masks, a few belongings carefully arranged. Time has moved on. Witnesses have grown older. Technology has improved, yet the story stays largely unchanged. Many mysteries fade as new information emerges. This one has remained quietly intact, its unanswered parts resting in the spaces between what is known and what has vanished. There is no final insight here, no resolve, only a calm acknowledgement that some stories stay open, not demanding closure, not insisting on explanation, simply remaining like a faint echo on a hillside above Niterói. And in the soft wind that moves across the grass, the silence continues, neither revealing nor hiding, just holding the memory of a moment that has not fully settled.